අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT Mobitel දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Sunday the 27th of August 2023. Census 2023. The Department of Census and Statistics expects to complete the ongoing population and housing census during the third quarter of next year. Power sector reforms. Legislation to unbundle the Ceylon electricity board to be introduced soon, reveals the committee appointed to restructure the CEB. Punishable offence. Stern action against those involved in pyramid schemes under the provisions of the Penal Code, insists the State Minister of Finance.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක. Rhino Cement Roofing Sheets. හොඳම මෙලට කල් පවතින වහරයක්.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to AdaDerana First at 9. I'm Aditya Dirisinghe joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now, the Department of Census and Statistics expects to conclude the ongoing census for the years 2023 and 2024 during the third quarter of 2024. Speaking to AdaDerana English News, its Director General PMP Anurukumara said that the census will be conducted under 4 stages and that the government has already concluded its first stage. Further, sociological experts are of the view that an accurate census would help to better respond to the changes that the economy went through in the past few years. With that, here's a brief report prepared by AdaDerana's Chamud Fernando on the ongoing population, housing and census statistics by the Department of Census and Statistics.
Recommended by the United Nations, countries across the world conduct censuses every 5 to 10 years. A census counts the population of a nation, state, or other geographic region while recording information on the population's characteristics such as age, gender, and occupation. It may also include data on the region's agricultural and business sectors.
The population census is necessary to get grassroots level data of a country that covers in a certain local boundaries. Most important thing is it will provide us population structure and all stock of housing relevant to that time period, and that is only source for getting such information of a country.
In the Sri Lankan context, the first scientific census was conducted on 27th of March 1871 by the then Registrar General's office. It recorded a population of 2.4 million. Since then, censuses were conducted usually every 10 years with certain exceptions. With the establishment of the Census Department in the early 1940s, the population census was taken under the department's wing. The last census was conducted by the Department of Census and Statistics in 2012. The department also planned to conduct a population and housing census in 2021. However, it was postponed due to the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. However, last month, President Ranil Wickremesinghe issued a gazette notification ordering a census of population and housing to be conducted in Sri Lanka for the current year and 2024. Speaking to AdaDerana English News, Director General of the Department of Census and Statistics PMP Anurukumara revealed that the department has already begun the population and housing census. According to the department, the census will be conducted in 4 stages, which include mapping, listing, enumeration and data dissemination. The census, which is expected to be completed by the third quarter of next year, is projected to incur a cost of 2.8 billion rupees.
We have already passed mapping stage. We have prepared 88,000 census block maps for the country. It is in digital formats. We have already shared with some government organizations such as Home Affairs Ministry. Listing stage cover all the building of the country. We are labeling all the buildings and housing places, and same time we are identifying the head of person in household and their agricultural actors and also the person engaged in industries. Now we are conducting classes for the enumerators, those who are going for the field work for the listing operation. Fieldwork is starting in October month. Now we are using tablet computers for the data collection. That is digital way we collect the data through 15,000 officers. That data directly sent to the head office and we collect into the servers. And I think this operation will be successful in 2-3 months.
Since 2020, Sri Lanka's socio-economic dynamics underwent major shifts due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic crisis. Against this backdrop, experts highlight the need for more data to ease the process of policy formulation to address multifaceted issues plaguing Sri Lanka's economy. Therefore, how can a census be important and advantageous to Sri Lanka in its current socio-economic context?
What is really important for us to know is the overall picture in the country, and that census would provide us with the data set that would help us to understand how the population has been affected in various ways. Now, as far as census is concerned, it's not a matter of collecting data about the entire population. It is also looking at how the population has been moving around. As you know, mobility of people is very important when we have a census being conducted, because if you have rural-urban migration either way, and then also migration of people from the country to the outside world, all these are very, very significant, and these things have to be captured. The Sri Lanka population has been moving more and more in the direction of urban centers over the last 20 or 30 years, and now of course we have a situation where the city-urban population has been very much affected by not only COVID but also by the economic crisis. And I think this particular demographic change can be captured very clearly once we have the data coming from the census. So all look forward to having this census data, and that would help us not only to understand the situation but also to figure out how to really respond to these changes if they are negative. And if they are also positive, of course we will be able to build on those positive changes that are taking place.
With the economic crisis, the poverty rate in Sri Lanka is estimated to have doubled last year. The crisis added 2.5 million more poor people, meaning around 5 million people need social welfare assistance. With up-to-date statistics, the government and authorities will have more information in order to uplift the standards of these poor people by social development programs. Then, the authorities must use the data obtained from the new census in order to take effective and more informed decisions.
Many areas of the country, including the northwestern province, have been severely affected due to the prevailing extreme drought conditions. Against this backdrop, dairy farmers in the northwestern province warned on a 50% decrease in milk production in the coming weeks, attributed to the drying up of the grasslands which feed the cattle. Meanwhile, tea and cinnamon plantations in the Ratnapura district, including Abewila and Godakavala, have also been affected due to the lack of water.
The ongoing drought conditions continue to affect several areas of the country, disrupting livelihoods of many people. In Tirukkovil in the Ampara district, small tanks have dried up while only a very small amount of water remains in the Mankulama lake. Due to the drought, grasslands in the Sagam area have dried up, causing concern on how cattle and other livestock will be fed. Similarly, the ongoing drought condition affected milk production in the northwestern province. The island's northwestern province provides over 18% of the total annual milk production, which exceeds 1,250 million litres. According to dairy farmers, milk production in the northwestern province could be subjected to a 50% decrease if the prevailing severe drought conditions will continue into the coming weeks. In the northwestern province, where 35,000 cowsheds maintain nearly 225,000 cows, the dry conditions have led to concerns on how the cattle will be fed and maintained to satisfy the demand for dairy products. Meanwhile, pepper plantations of nearly 1,000 acres in areas including Ambilipiti and Mullediyavala are gradually drying up due to the severe drought conditions. Tea and cinnamon plantations in Abewila, Godakavala, Opanayaka and other areas in the Ratnapura district were also dried up due to the lack of water. In Anuradhapura, the water level of the Huruluvavu is gradually decreasing due to the ongoing drought. Against this backdrop, farmers in the region raised concerns regarding the potential impact on the soybean plantation stretched across an area of 5,000 acres, dependent on the Huruluvavu for its water supply. Meanwhile, the water released from the Chandrika tank in Amilipitiya under the protection of the police and the STF reached the Gurunehagiyara area in Angunukola Palace this afternoon. The area was supplied with water after 45 days.
Now, with more on weather, the Department of Meteorology has issued a heat advisory to the north central, Uva and eastern provinces as well as the Vavuniya and Mullaitivu districts. Accordingly, the general public is urged to remain hydrated as direct sunlight can be expected in several areas starting from tomorrow to the 7th of September.
Several parts of the country have been experiencing soaring temperatures lately. As a result, a heat advisory was issued by the Department of Meteorology today, stating that the temperature felt on the human body is expected to increase up to caution level in certain parts of the country. As such, the Meteorological Department stated that owing to the southward relative motion of the sun will be directly over parts of the country from the 28th of August to the 7th of September. Accordingly, the advisory is issued to the north central, Uva and eastern provinces and Vavuniya and Mullaitivu districts. As per the heat advisory issued today, the towns over which the sun is overhead tomorrow are Kovilan Point and Mallakkam in Jaffna district at around 12:11 p.m. Against this backdrop, the Meteorological Department has urged the general public to stay hydrated and limit strenuous outdoor activities.
On the apparent southward relative motion of the sun, it is going to be directly over the latitudes of Sri Lanka during 28th of August to 7th of September in this year. The nearest towns of Sri Lanka over which the sun is overhead tomorrow are Kovilan Point and Mallakkam, Jaffna district, about 12:11 noon. The temperature felt on human body, which also called heat index, is expected to increase up to caution level at some places in north central, Uva and eastern provinces and in Vavuniya and Mullaitivu districts tomorrow as well. In this situation, fatigue is possible with prolonged exposure and activity. Continuing activity could result in heat cramps as well. Therefore, we request the general public to stay hydrated, limit strenuous outdoor activities, stay hydrated during outdoor activities.
Meanwhile, State Minister of Finance Ranjit Sembalapati has said that legal action will be taken under the Penal Code against the organizations and individuals who carry out or are involved in pyramid schemes. The minister said the complaints received so far will be given to the Criminal Investigation Division of the police for further action. The minister made these remarks following a statement by the officials of the central bank stating that a pyramid scheme is a cognizable offence, meaning that the police can arrest offenders without a warrant under the Penal Code.
On the 24th of August, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka issued a notice banning 9 entities which had participated in or conducted pyramid schemes, which is an offence punishable under Sri Lankan law. Accordingly, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has requested the Attorney General to consider instituting criminal proceedings pursuant to the provisions of Section 83C of the Banking Act against the banned entities. The 9 entities banned by the Central Bank for engaging in pyramid schemes are Teens Lanka Healthcare Private Limited, Best Life International Private Limited, Global Lifestyle Lanka Private Limited and Markwu International Private Limited. Further, VML International Private Limited, Fast Recycle International Private Limited, Sports Chain App, Sports Chain EZS Society Sri Lanka, OnMax DT, the MTFE App, MTFE SL Group, MTFE Success Lanka Private Limited and MTFE DSCC Group Private Limited are also included in the list of banned entities. At the Monetary Policy Brief last week, Assistant Governor of the Central Bank, KGP Sirikumara, said pyramid schemes are cognizable offences, meaning that committing such a crime could lead to an arrest without a warrant. Following these developments, State Minister of Finance Ranjit Sembalapati said that individuals and firms engaging in such activities will be punished under the Penal Code.
මේ වැරදි කරපු ආයතන වලට සමාගම් වලට රැවටිලිකාන්ට විරුද්ධව ලැබෙන පැමිණිලි පොලිසියට අපරාධ පරීක්ෂා දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට යොමු කරලා මේ අපරාධ නීති යටතේ ඔවුන්ට නඩු පවරන්න.
Now, the former chairman of the Board of Investments and member of the committee appointed to restructure the Ceylon Electricity Board, Thilan Vijayasinghe, said the awaiting reforms to the Ceylon Electricity Board, which are currently being reviewed by the Attorney General, will open up resources which are monopolized by the CEB to the private sector along with its distribution companies. He further said more than 10 megawatt power projects are expected to be tendered out, while the excess energy generated by the renewable energy projects will pave the way for Sri Lanka to export power.
Sri Lanka is about to introduce one of the deepest reforms seen in this country in the power sector, where currently draft legislation is before the Honourable Attorney General, where the current electricity monopoly, the Ceylon Electricity Board, is going to be unbundled. And the objective of this unbundling is to provide better services to consumers, create competition, obviously see a decline in electricity prices, but more importantly, to attract greater investments from the private sector into the energy sector. And one of the very ambitious targets that have been set by the government is to migrate from the current 45 to 48% of renewable energy into 70% within a very short period of 2030. The unbundling process is expected to take a period of about a year, and the Ministry of Power has also set up what is called a Power Sector Reform Secretariat. And in the future, it is envisaged that some of the existing generating assets of the Ceylon Electricity Board would be available for private sector investment, along with some of the distribution companies. And amongst these would be an existing distribution company which is owned majority by the Electricity Board, which is Lanka Electricity Company Limited, or LECO, which handles distribution in the Western Province. Other than projects that are less than 10 megawatts, which can qualify for investment under the feed-in tariff, the larger renewable energy projects are expected to be tendered out. Now, amongst the medium-term opportunities that are there in renewable energy, the offshore wind potential identified in Sri Lanka is 50 gigawatts or 50,000 megawatts, which is far greater than quantum of energy Sri Lanka needs. This strategy will obviously be dovetailed with a strategy to export power, and these projects will also be available for investment on a competitive basis. For us to export power, the obvious destination for this power is India, and that is greater economic integration, not just with our neighbors to the north, but with regional countries and Asian countries such as China, Thailand, and possibly even the UK. At the moment, negotiations are going on for the current free trade agreement to be translated into a comprehensive services agreement, which is called ECTA. And there again, with greater monetary union between India and Sri Lanka, greater integration in infrastructure such as an oil pipeline and a power linking pipeline, where the technical feasibility studies are almost completed for a grid connection between India and Sri Lanka, and a maritime connection connecting the north of Sri Lanka to India through a maritime and possibly a bridge of some sort. The point is that there will be significant economic integration with India, and that would further enhance investment opportunities apart from the economic integration that would happen when we enter into free trade agreements with China and some of our other neighbors.
Join us on the other side of this short commercial break for more local updates.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන්කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. Now the chairman of the Committee on Public Accounts, Lasant Alagiyawanna, questioned the regulation of private medical organizations, adding that measures should be implemented to register the premises. Meanwhile, the COPA proceedings also unveiled the misappropriation of the fuel allowance granted to the governor of the Sabaragamu province.
මේ කාරණය 2020 සම්බන්ධයි ආණ්ඩුකාරතුමා දිවයිනින් බැහැර ඉන්න වෙලාවක එතුමාගේ ඉන්ධන දීමනාව ගෙවලා තියෙනවා ඒගේ පෞද්ගලික ලේකම්වරයට 7,25,000 මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ජනාධිපති ලේකම් විසින් සභාගම ප්‍රධාන ලේකම්වරට දන්වලා තියෙනවා මේක අය කරගත යුතු බව මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් මේ වෙනකොට තත්ත්වය මොකක්ද කියන එක පැහැදිලි කරන්න පුළුවන්ද ප්‍රධාන ලේකම්තුමා
මම ආණ්ඩුකාර ලේකම් ගරු ආණ්ඩුකාරතුමා විදේශගත වෙලා ඉන්න කාලය තුල විශාල වැඩ කොටසක් පවර්ලා යනවා පෞද්ගලික ලේකම්ට එතුමා වෙනුවෙන් ඉෂ්ට කරන්න ඒ වැඩ කොටස් ටික මොනවද කියන එකත් එක්ක තමයි මේ පිළිතුර යවලා තියෙන්නේ ඒ අනුව තමයි මේක ඉතින් ගෙවීම කළා තියෙන්නේ 2018 ඔක්තෝබර් 12 දිනේ තියෙන මේ චක්‍රයක නිකුත් වෙලා තියෙනවනේ ජනාධිපති ලේකම්ගෙන් මෙහෙම ගෙවීමක් කරන්න බෑ කියන එක ඒක බෑ කියලා නෑනේ කොතන පැහැදිලිව කියලා තියෙනවා ඉන්ධන දීම වෙනත් අයකට ලබා දීමට ප්‍රතිපාදන සලසන්න නොතිබියදී ඉන්ධන දීම සඳහා වැය කළ මුදල රජයට අය කර ගැනීම හැර ඔබට වෙනත් විකල්පයක් නැති බව නිරීක්ෂණය කරමු පැහැදිලිව කියලා තියෙනවා ඒක අය කරගන්න කියලා තියෙනවා ඒකට තමයි අපි පිළිතුරක් යවන්නේ
ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ විගණකාධිපතිතුමාගේ ඔඩිට් කරක වැරදි කියලාද
නෑ නෑ මම වැරදි කියන්නේ
නෑ එහෙම තමයි කියුනේ චක්‍රලේඛනයට පටහැනිනේ මේක සාධාරණීකරණය කරනවද කියලා දෙවනුව තීරණය කරයි. නමුත් ඒක පිළිගන්න. දැන් සබරගම පළාතේ ලියාපදිංචි නොමැති පෞද්ගලික රෝහල් 5ක් තියෙනවා. පූර්ණ කාලීන විශේෂඥ වෛද්‍ය මධ්‍යස්ථාන 5ක් තියෙනවා. වෛද්‍ය මධ්‍යස්ථාන 22යි. අර්ධ හා පූර්ණ කාලීන දන්ත වෛද්‍ය සායන 5යි. සාමාන්‍ය බෙහෙත් ශාලා 12යි. පෞද්ගලික රසායනාගාර 19යි. දැන් මේක හොයාගෙන තියෙන විගණකාධිපතිතුමානේ. පළාත් සභාවට මේවට අරගෙන තියෙන ක්‍රියාමාර්ගය මොකක්ද?
ඒවට මාසෙට සැරයක්ම අපි යවලා තිනවා.
යබ ඉඳලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ නේ
මේක. ඒකට අපිට නීතිමය කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා තමයි PHSRC එකෙන් කියලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඔව් ඒක කටයුතු කරන්න.
ඒක තාම පටන් අරගෙන නැහැ. මොකද PHSRC එකේ යම් ගැටලු ටිකක් තියෙනවා.
නීති අඩුපාඩුකම් තියෙන හින්දා මේක නියාමනයක් කරන්න බෑ.
පනතේ පොඩි ගැටලු වගේ තියෙනවා කියලා තමයි ඒක මේ PHSRC එකෙන් අපිට
කවදා ගෙනාවු පනතද මේ තියෙන්නේ?
2006
අවුරුදු 17කට කලින් හදපු පනතක අඩුපාඩුවක් නිසා ලංකාවේ පෞද්ගලික වෛද්‍ය ආයතන නියාමනය කිරීම පිළිබඳව ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා කියන එක කියවෙන්නේ.
පිළිගන්නවා එහෙම අඩුපාඩුවක් තියෙනවා. වෛද්‍යවරුන්ගේ ප්‍රයිවට් ප්‍රැක්ටිස් තියෙනවා. GMO එකේ බලපෑමක් තියෙන නිසා ඒ අයට ඒගොල්ලෝ රෙජිස්ටර් වෙනවා. මේකේ රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න නිසා ඇත්තටම ප්‍රෙමිසස් එක. වෛද්‍ය නිලධාරීන් නෙවෙයි. එතකොට දැන් වෛද්‍ය නිලධාරීන් මෙතෙක් කල් ඉතින් හිටියා ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් SLMC එකෙත් ඒගොල්ලෝ රෙජිස්ටර් වෙනවානේ. එතකොට ඒකයි මේකයි දෙකක් මොකටද කියලා. නමුත් ඇත්තට මෙතන රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්නේ මේ ප්‍රෙමිසස්. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා දැන් බොහෝ දුරට වෛද්‍ය නිලධාරීන් part time private practice කියන එක දැන් රෙජිස්ටර් වෙගෙන යනවා සෑහෙන ප්‍රමාණයක්.
Now, Sri Lanka's Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe said with the completion of the domestic debt optimization program, ratings of the commercial banks will be reversed and the importers will be able to import opening letters of credit with ease going forward. Commenting on an issue related to the importers facing difficulties due to the inability to open letters of credit, Governor Veerasinghe said some banks may still not accept LCs as counterpart banks ashore are reluctant to issue credit as the ratings are low.
ගවන මේ සතියේ මුලදී වාහන ආනයනකරුවන් සහ මුදල් රාජ්‍ය අමාත්‍ය සිමලා පිටිය අතර සාකච්ඡාවක් පැවැත්වලා තියෙනවා. ඒකදී ඔවුන් කියලා තියෙනවා ආනයන සීමා ලිහිල් කළත් LC ඕපන් කරද්දී ඒවා පිළි නොගන්නා තත්ත්වයක් මේ වෙනකොට තියෙනවායි කියලා. ඇත්තට මෙහෙම අවධානමක් තියෙනවද?
LC ඕපන් කරන එක බැංකුවල සමහර බැංකුවල දැන් LC ඕපන් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක රඳාපවතින්නේ දැන් අපේ රේටින් තාම අඩු වෙන්නේ තියෙන්නේ. ඒතර රේටින් තියෙනකොට ක්‍රෙඩිට් රිස්ක් එක පිටරට දින බැංකුවක කවුන්ටර්පාර්ට් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඉන්ටර්නල් කන්ට්‍රෝල්ස් අනුව සමහර කවුන්ටර්පාර්ට්ස් බැංකු වලට ඒගොල්ලෝ ක්‍රෙඩිට් දෙන එක නවත්තලා ඒක නිසා පහුගිය කාලේ ඔය සල්ලි නැතුව තිබ්බේ කාටවත් ක්‍රෙඩිට් ඊවන් ක්‍රෙඩිට් ඔක්කොම බැංකුවල තියෙන ක්‍රෙඩිට් ඔක්කොම සෙටල් කරලා ඉවරයි දැන්. දැන් තියෙන අලුතෙන් ක්‍රෙඩිට් බිල්ඩ් අප් වෙන එක ක්‍රමානුකූලව ක්‍රෙඩිට් ලයින්ස් ඕපන් වෙනවා. මුලින්ම ඕපන් වෙන්නේ LC ඕපන් කිරීමේ හැකියාව. ඒතර ඒක ඒ යන බැංකුව අනුව ඒගොල්ලන්ට එක එක බැංකුවල තත්ත්වයන් වෙනස් වෙන පුළුවන්. ඒගොල්ලෝ රේටින් අනුව සමහර බැංකුවලට LC ඕපන් කරන්න හැකියාවක් තියෙන පුළුවන්. සමහර වෙලාවට නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ පහුගිය කාලේ මෙතෙක් කල් කරගෙන ගියේ LC නැතුව ඒවලේ තියෙන මුදල්වත් පිට ගෙවල ආවරණය කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකට බාධාවක් නැහැ. LC කියලා කියන්නේ ණයට මාස 3ක් බඩු ගෙනාවට පස්සේ සල්ලි දෙන්න letter of credit කියන්නේ LC confirmed LC වලින් ගේන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර confirm කරාම ඒක බැංකුව confirm කරනවා නම් එතකොට ඒකට open කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ සමහර importers ලට බැංකුව වලට එහෙම තාමත් තියෙන පුළුවන්. හේතුව අපි දකින්නේ දැන් DD එක complete කරලා extend කරලා පස්සේ අනිවාර්යයෙන් මේ rating එක අනිත් පැත්තට යනකොට lines open වෙනවා. එතකොට මේට වඩා පහසු වෙයි.
Governor, are you concerned at all about the profitability of banks because this is not a recommended rate, it's an imposed rate?
No, we have looked at the banking sector stability is obviously important one. You can remember banking sector had a lot more concerns before the announcement of DDO, and after the announcement we have seen the impact of restructuring has been addressed. As a result, banks also agreed that they will pass that benefit to the customers while preserving financial stability. I don't think profitability is to look at what's important factor for profitability is net interest margins. That has been widened in the transition period. That is where I think we think they should be able to maintain whatever the reasonable profitability while passing the benefit of reducing deposit rates and the lending rates and the gap between those two. Adjustment and reasonable margin will ensure they should be able to maintain the profitability going forward.
And with the rates down, do you see a pressure on the rupee?
No, so far we have not seen that. If you look at the last month, there was volatility because of the SLDB debt exchange that banks had to accumulate or cover their positions. I think SLDB exchange about $800 million, out of which larger part now have already been covered from the market by the banks. As a result, there's some volatility, but now it has been settled. So it's only thing we need to monitor is whether the import demand is coming back. So then obviously, and also remittances and tourism are doing well. So we haven't seen imports also, despite relaxation, still stable at about 1.3 billion level. So if that is going up to significantly higher, then obviously there could be some pressure on the currency, but we haven't seen it.
Now, Sri Lanka's Loves PLC said the company is ready to invest in renewable energy projects in the country and it is open to immediate investments in solar power projects. Meanwhile, the dairy products manufacturer Lanka Milk Foods Group said the government should look into the drop in the country's maize production as it has led to the dairy farmers and feed producers to resort to costly substitutes, hence increasing the prices of the end products. With that, let's take a look at the latest corporate updates around the island in brief.
Sri Lanka's Laugh Power PLC said it is ready to invest in the country's renewable energy sector, aligning with the government's energy policy of 70% of total electricity produced from renewable energy sources by 2030. Group Chairman K.H. Vagapitiya in the annual report stated, any immediate investments will likely be in solar power projects, highlighting, however, that a stable exchange rate is important in encouraging investment in the non-conventional renewable energy sector. Meanwhile, the Lanka Milk Foods Group, the dairy products manufacturer owning Daily, Ambevela and Luxpray brands, said upgrading the industry, guaranteeing affordable and high-quality feed, establishing a fair price mechanism for milk and milk products, and increasing herd productivity are crucial to secure the future of the industry. Chairman of the firm Harry Jayawardena said the dairy industry in Sri Lanka holds significant potential for supporting local farmers, but it currently fails to meet even half of the country's milk demand, and it has further worsened due to challenges arising from the rising costs of cattle feed concentrates and insufficient domestic maize production, compelling dairy farmers and feed producers to resort to costly substitutes. Meanwhile, with the developments in the tourism industry, Tal Lanka Hotels, owners of the Taj Samudra in Colombo, said even though the number of tourists has increased due to heavily relying on a small number of source markets, makes the industry vulnerable to changes in demand from these markets. Tal Lanka further said challenges such as the high cost of living in Sri Lanka, the shortage of hotel rooms and other tourism infrastructure, and the lack of skilled workers in the tourism sector needs to be addressed in order to sustain the growth of the industry.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of AdaDerana First at 9. Stay in touch with us on www.adaderana.lk for the latest developments around the clock. Thank you. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.